As I was mentioning, I've been in the office since 2005. I took a brief hiatus in 2013, came back to the county in 2014, and been at it ever since. I was elected in 2016 to my first term. I'm currently serving my second term. I have a little over 200 days left in the position. I do have a countdown, but I won't bore you guys with that because I do say it a lot. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what we do. I hope I can continue this on after I'm done with my term here, or these endeavors anyhow. So I've lived in Los Alamos since 2002 with my husband, my 3 children. They all went through the school systems here. We've been very, very fortunate to live in a great community, and I'm very fortunate to serve a great community. What else about me? So my roots for elections are just stem from my grandmother. My grandmother is Filomena Chavez. I had pictures of her here, but unfortunately we have some technical difficulties. I think my adapter here is not working. Anyhow, she would take us to vote every election, me and my siblings, and I would see her. That was when the curtains would close and you'd pull a lever, and she'd come out with pride and she's taught us since an early age about elections and the importance of elections and making your voice heard through elections. So I get to I'm fortunate to sit here and talk to you guys about that today. I'm going to try and get my notes here. So let's talk about election security. Election security is one of the things in our nation that people question often. We're very fortunate in New Mexico, and I'll mention later, we've gotten an award or we've been deemed number 1 by MIT in elections. So where does election security begin? It begins at voter registration. There's a lot of safeguards within the registration process itself. Only certain personnel are able to handle those registrations. And voters who go through the process, when they go to vote, they're not able to, if they do not appear on the voter registration rolls, they can vote provisionally. And we will try to see what stems from the problem. Typically, they're just not a voter registered within our county, and they did not meet the deadline. I'll talk about same-day voter registration in a little bit. So mail ballots are very protected by our state and a lot of states. A lot of people question that process, so they will not vote by mail. I can guarantee you there's probably more scrutiny, more checks and balances on that process than any other election process. If you're ever curious about it, you can become an absentee board member. They're the ones that handle all of our absentee ballots. Election equipment. So our election equipment, if you've never been part of it, or we invite the public, there's logic and accuracy testing that goes in front of every election. So we typically do that about about 30, 35 days out before the election. We do that logic and accuracy testing. It's open to the public. It's a great way to see that the machines are working. They are secured. We secure them. We seal them. We put all that information and we send that to our party chairs and to our Secretary of State's office. So if there's any questioning of a seal being broken, or if there's question, is this the same seal, all that information has been sent to them ahead of time. Our election workers. So as you guys know, and many of you know, because many of you are wonderful poll workers, but we have to have at least a team of 4 for every election. So there's checks and balances that they see. It's a bipartisan team. We work very hard to make sure there is a bipartisan representation during every day of voting. And what's great is, and I think people forget this, is they're our neighbors. These people know us. They know when you come in. They know, oh, that's not Mr. Joe Voter. That's actually so-and-so. We're fortunate to live in a small community, so we have those safeguards set in place. Election night reporting is another really interesting aspect of the election process. There's a lot that goes into it. Our state makes sure there's a lot of checks and balances. There's a lot of testing, mock trials of election night reporting that's done ahead of time. A lot of our information is not connected to the network. We actually have to get it off of a computer that is not networked. We have to put it into a secured USB with a secret code that the Secretary of State sends us, and we put it into a machine that goes into them. goes uploaded to their system. We not only do that, but a lot of you who have worked the polls. At the end of the night, there's election tapes that are ran. There's a tape so the tape is hung up at every site, and one tape goes to the Secretary of State's office. Those are sent by our bipartisan team, and so that information is sent to them to ensure what we are uploading as a county matches what was sent to them. So there's a lot of audits, a lot of canvassing that goes on after each election. So, and then there's obviously contingency planning. We have a lot of contingency planning. Our Secretary of State, Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, and her team work very, very hard to ensure everything is kosher across the state. We're very fortunate where we live. Again, as I mentioned earlier, New Mexico elections were ranked #1 in our nation. It was a prestigious, non-partisan ranking measures that election performance of each state, and New Mexico was ranked #1. So I think we have to hold our head high, and yes. If any of you are curious about that data, you could get it off of our website or the Secretary of State's website as well. So let's talk about AI. AI is something that could infiltrate our elections, but there's a lot of safeguards set in place, and I'm going to talk to you real quick about how to recognize some of those AI. So the images, video, and audio clips are everywhere this election season, so don't be fooled. In 2024, just about anyone can create a realistic AI image, video, or audio clip. These deepfakes are faster and easier than ever using software on the internet. This election season, be smart. Voter and media consumer learn how to spot AI misinformation, and when in doubt, check it out. If you go to the Secretary of State's website, she has some really great information on how to recognize AI, from photos to videos to audio. And there actually is a test there, so you can get on there, and it's on her home screen. You can see, go through it and test it out and see if you can recognize AI infiltration. But again, at the end of the day, go to your trusted source. Go to your trusted source, who's your county clerk's office, your Secretary of State's office. Those are the sources you want to go to. I want to talk real quick in the same vein of security is in relation to our challengers and watchers. Unfortunately, in our state and throughout the nation, there have been challengers and watchers have become unruly, have threatened some of the poll workers or election workers, and our Secretary of State's office has actually issued from the Secretary of State's office. So it's just trying to tell folks this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do, and if you're interested in any of that, please come see us, and we're happy to help you become a challenger or watcher. And there is a deadline for that, so it just depends on what part of the process if you're going to be a challenger or watcher for early voting, or election day, or the absentee process. There's certain deadlines for all of that. But I'm happy to share that information with you if you guys would like. So in 2024, we had some election-related bills, legislation passed. There was SB 108, which was distribution of election fund. So now our elections are funded. Yay. Yeah, there was a lot of times the counties would reach out. Their payments would get to them a little bit later. As you know, the Secretary of State's office covers all of our election costs. So even though we budget for it, the county council approves it, it's reimbursed from the Secretary of State's office. Not everything, but just about the majority of our elections. Our poll workers, our equipments, our supplies, a lot of it is funded from the Secretary of State's office. Unfortunately, her office was underfunded. So now through SB 108, she has now received $15 million. So to help cover the cost of elections. Elections are quite costly, as you can imagine. SB 137 is the school board training. So that talks about more in-depth training for our school board members and has to do with campaign finance reporting, as does HB 182, which also has something to do with Campaign Reporting Act. I won't go into that because I'm here to talk more about elections. And the one bill that was passed this legislation was SB 5, which is firearms near the polling place. This gets a little tricky, even considering signage. We had signage that says no firearms, and that doesn't actually go into effect till May 15th, but earlier on we were looking at signage. We placed it out, and our attorney's like, wait a minute, it's too soon, so we pulled it off. But there's no firearms allowed in the polling place unless you're a peace officer or unless it's a concealed carry. So concealed carry is allowed. That was an amendment on the floor. That's not the bill that we tried to push through. It was no firearms, and we don't want to ever touch on people's constitutional rights. However, we do want to keep our poll workers, our election workers, our voters safe. So as we all know, elections can get a little heated, or a lot heated, and some people sometimes go in. We've seen it in other states where they go in and unfortunately there's some bad actors, I'll just say that. So the amendment on the floor was to allow for peace officers, and I think the amendment actually for peace officers, which is our police officers, if they have to go into a polling location, they wouldn't be breaking the law. But so that was an amendment out in one of the committees, and then on the House, it was that concealed carry. So there's somewhat of a ban against firearms within the polling location. Another tricky thing is if you're going in to pay your utility bill, the polling location at the municipal building is a polling location. You're 100 feet from the door, but you're also coming in to pay your utility bill, so you can have a firearm on you. Yeah. I don't know. I've been in the office since 2005. I don't know of any reports of anybody having a firearm within the polling location. So, other than I think the sheriff candidate at one time. But, so it's something, but I had hoped for it to be a little bit more secure than that. I do want to talk real quick about permanent absentee because a lot of people are interested in this. So this is actually a bill that was passed, I want to say it was in 19, might have been 21, I don't remember exactly, but now this year is when you can sign up to be part of permanent absentee. This is a bill that I've often advocated for during our legislation, or during the legislature, and it was because I often have constituents or voters call, I'm a snowbird, or can't I get on a permanent absentee list? I want my ballot mailed to me for whatever reason it is. It's more convenient for them to vote at home. Maybe they have mobility issues. Maybe it's just they like to take their time. They like to do their research, and they want to take a day or two. Whatever the reason is, or they're snowbirds. They're not here in November. They're in Arizona, wherever, down in the southern part of the state. Whatever the reason is, I had always advocated for that. I was one of the only clerks that advocated for that because a lot of clerks did not want this permanent absentee. However, this is an opt-in, so you have to opt into this. There's some stipulations with that. So if a voter has a permanent mailing address for their ballot outside of the state, they can't be on permanent absentee. So it's only in state. Sometimes when you're working with the legislature, you take what you can get. Because there are a lot of compromises happens during a lot of these committees. That will be starting up for the upcoming general election. At least 49 days before each statewide election, counties will send reminders to the voters of the voluntary permanent absentee list, informing them that they can be mailed a ballot as long as it's in state. A lot of these notices are not sent from our office, even though they have my name on it. It's actually sent from the Secretary of State's office, so I don't always know the language. I've asked many times for us to get that ahead of time so we can provide our input, but I know they're very busy as well. So important things to remember on permanent absentee is a voter shall be removed from the voluntary permanent absentee voter list for the following reasons. The voter fails to return a mailed ballot in 2 consecutive elections, including at least 1 general election. The county clerk has sent a mailed ballot or other piece of election-related mail to the voter's mailing address that was returned undeliverable. So if we're starting to get undeliverable mail, obviously that voter is not there. That's a signal to us. The voter certificate of registration is canceled pursuant to the provisions of Article 4 NMSA 1978, and that's a purge. So if you're on that purge list, more than likely you're going to get taken off the permanent absentee list. A purge is when somebody does not vote in an election for more than 2 election cycles, to include a general. Eventually, we start receiving undeliverable mail. We notice, okay, this voter has obviously moved or is not participating in elections, so we'll send them a notice. Hey, Joe voter, do you want to still be a voter in Los Alamos? If we receive that undeliverable, or if we don't receive a reply back, they will be taken off of the voter rolls, and that occurs every odd year. So this coming February, the next clerk and his team will start taking our voters off the rolls that are no longer here. But we do make efforts to make sure that the voter is just not responding. So let's see, the voter updates their certificate of registration. So if you update your voter registration indicating an address that is outside of the county for which the voter is listed of the voluntary, you'll get taken off that voluntary permanent absentee list. So if you move to Santa Fe, you move to Albuquerque, Rio Riva area, and you don't update your permanent address, your permanent absentee, you're not going to be on that list anymore. So you're going to have to apply with the new clerk. Or the voter just asked to be taken off of the permanent absentee list. Yes. Yeah, it's by county. Oh, so this is something, I really wanted to show you guys this video, so I'm a little sad, but you can go to the Secretary of State's office, and the Secretary of State introduced Ballot Scout. So this is a really neat tracker for your absentee ballots. So yeah, I tested it out this morning. For some reason, it didn't work for me, but maybe I did something wrong on my end, but I did receive my absentee ballot by mail, so not too sure. So we'll just skip that because we're not going to go into the video. Another thing I'd like to touch base on is third-party registration training. We did that earlier in the month. Was it this month? Everything's mushing together for me. So I think it was in April. I came and I did a voter registration agent training for folks. Whoever wanted to become a voter registration agent, we provide a training, and you can now register people. I think where were you guys the health fair? Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that way. That you can't do it now because you have to do it in person.
Yes, they have to. So, and I'll touch base on that in a little bit. Yeah, but if anybody is interested in becoming a VRA, voter registration agent, they can get training from our office. They can come in. We'll give them a training. We'll actually set you up, and you'll watch a video. Another thing we can do is we can email you the link. If you like to just do it from the convenience of your own home, we could email you the link for the voter registration agent training, and then you'll come into our office, you'll sign an affidavit. I have watched the training, and you'll sign an application, and we will give you 25 voter registrations, and you can go out into the community and register folks. Actually, you could go out throughout the state and register folks. Yeah. And we also do group trainings as long as we have a request for that. I want to touch base now on voter turnout. It's not too good. We're only at 3.5% as of today. 395 people have voted either through requesting an absentee ballot or in person. So we're hoping to pick up those numbers, folks. So please let people know. We start early voting in White Rock this Saturday. So I'll be out there just getting that site opened up. 8 to 6 that day. We extend hours here at the municipal building, 8 to 6, and we start Saturday voting that day as well. Then no voting on Sundays, and then we will resume Monday through the following Saturday, 8 to 6, and then no voting that Sunday or Monday because it's a holiday. So we pick up Tuesday through that last Saturday, which is June 1st, and it's all happening very fast. So to touch base real quick, a voter registration, as I mentioned, has closed. So anybody that's affiliated with a major party cannot change their registration from one party to another at this point. They can change their address. Anybody that is not affiliated with a major party, they can come into our vote center. They can register to vote and vote that day. So if you know anybody, if they said, oh, I missed the deadline. No, well, as long as you're not affiliated with a major party, you can go in to a vote center and you can register to vote. I'm sorry, you can, register to vote and then vote. We do need 2 pieces or more information than you would previously before that deadline, and it's an ID, and then it's also, we need some supporting documentation with your name and your address. And it's pretty simple. Ask a lot of poll workers. They probably takes 5 to 10 minutes to get them registered. Absentee by voting by mail is on right now. However, because of legislation that passed a few years ago, the deadline now is the 21st, so it's 2 weeks before Election Day. So you have until Tuesday to ask for an absentee ballot by mail. And by law, we have until the 22nd, the Wednesday after the 21st, to mail out a ballot. So all this is happening really fast. Early voting, as I mentioned, it's here in Municipal Building, White Rock. I mentioned those dates and times. Election Day, before you know it, it'll be June 4th, and we will be voting 7 to 7 at the Municipal Building, White Rock Town Hall, our Golf Course Community Building, UNMLA, and Betty Hart Senior Center. Five locations, and I don't know if a lot of you know, but I extended, so we still only have 3 vote centers, and I felt like every demographic in our community should be represented. So we opened UNMLA to catch our college age and our high school aged voters, and then also Betty Hart Senior Center to make sure those are of a certain mature age can go and vote there as well. And that is the most mobility friendly location. That's the location I would send people to go, or golf course, because they could drive up and just park them right there. So if you know anybody, I touched base on the 21st. It is. It's downstairs classroom, Betty, our senior center. So if you just drive them down, they can get down right there and get wheeled in, or they can walk in if they need to. But unfortunately, our municipal building is beautiful. I love it, but the corridor to get into the front door is a little lengthy of a walk sometimes for folks. So if you happen to know anybody that will be 18 by the general election, which is November 5th of this year, they can participate in the primary. So 17-year-olds can vote in this primary if they'll be 18 by the general. I always put a plug, become a poll worker if anybody's curious about the process, curious about what we do, the checks and balances that go into place, the chain of custody that happens through everything that we do. Become a poll worker. We need poll workers. We love our poll workers, and we're very fortunate because we have the best poll workers in the state, probably in the nation. I say that everywhere I go. I'm part of an election assistance commission, which was one of 2 clerks within our state. I was appointed by the Secretary of State's office to represent our state, and I often brag that you guys are the best. I'm also part of IGO, and that's the International Government Association, and I'm the delegation director for our state. I'm the one in our state I was chosen by other county clerks, and I have the privilege of, again, just saying how amazing not only our state is, but more so our county and our poll workers and our election officials. So with that, I will stand for any questions. Yes?
Could you go over the VRA?
Yes. So in order to become a VRA, you can come into our office, and we can sit you up on a computer. We'll get you have you watch a video, and then you'll fill out an application, and we'll give you 25 voter applications at that point. We could also send you the link if you prefer to do it at home. I could send you the link, and you could watch the video, and then you'll come into our office and state that you watched the video. You'll sign an affidavit, and we will give you the applications and the voter registrations at that time. Sure, I would happily take a list of emails. Yes, and the biggest thing is if you don't, there's some liability. Obviously, becoming a voter registration agent, you're handling people's sensitive information, which is either the last word of their social security, their full social security, their date of birth, which is the full date of birth is protected information in the state of New Mexico. So there's some liability. You have to be careful. If people do not want to take that liability, please send folks to nmvote.org. That is the best way for people to get a sample ballot. I brought some today. They can check their voter registration. They can check their district. They could they can also see where their absentee ballot is as well. Within that, there's a ballot tracker in there.
Once you become a registered, a person who can register,
Mm-hmm.
is that a lifetime
It is.
appointment?
It is. It is. And until you tell us, you bring in your registrations, or you say you come in and notify us, I no longer want to be affiliated with that, then we will just put note.
And if you have to have a form.
Come and see us. We'll issue you some more.
Do we need an appointment? Do you have to do what you do?
You can, if you go onto our website, we do have a place where you can make appointments, whether it's for anything that we do in our office, marriage licenses, check your land records, election related matters. You could go into our website and go under Calendly. There's a link there, and you can make an appointment, or you could just call. Right now, right now, unfortunately, my election manager is out due to medical needs. She's going to be out for some time, so we're short-staffed again. I've been in the office since 2005. I don't know that we've ever been fully staffed for an election, unfortunately. Yeah, but it's you get the job done. So, but I always find a way. But yes, if you can make an appointment, that would be helpful right now. Yeah.
I had two really simple questions and a comment. And the first, the simple one is my mom died in 22. She voted that year, but I guess she's going to need to be purged.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
always voted.
if we've seen an obituary on her, we've already removed her. We check the obituaries weekly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then the second one is you were talking about funding and why I don't understand funding that it wasn't from the Secretary of State. I don't understand funding.
So she had a certain amount of funding for elections. That's obviously given by the legislature. It wasn't enough, unfortunately. It wasn't enough, and it hasn't been enough. It hasn't been enough in, I don't know. While I've worked in the office, I think there's always been an issue with funding. She would get grants. We've got a lot of grants. She works hard. Her and her team work hard at getting us grants. Matter of fact, we just got a $50,000 election grant from her office. I actually got another security grant working with our EMS director, or emergency management director. For a mobile voting unit. So now we have a mobile voting unit in our county. Unfortunately, our county can be plagued with fires. We were almost part of a fire in 22. So I reached out to the Secretary of State. What do? You still have to provide voting in your county, even if everybody is evacuated. What to me, the common sense thing to me would be put one off the hill where it's safe, and they can have a mobile voting unit there but it has to be situated within your county lines. Yeah. So I was able to secure a mobile voting unit, and we also got another grant to wrap the mobile voting unit, and hopefully by this summer we can display it for the folks. And I would like to utilize it in the general election, but we'll have to see if our county council is on board with that, because it was purchased for emergency use only. So again, back to your question. Unfortunately, our elections have not been funded appropriately, and by now this is the amount that she's deemed she needs to make sure all the counties have enough money for elections. Not only with that, I think the funding has always been sparse. It's also, we have new mandates. I always tell this to a lot of folks. We have a lot of unfunded mandates. The legislature, I want you to start doing this. I want you to start doing this. And that's definitely, we're typically same day voter registration. We want voting convenience centers has actually taken down the cost of that. I don't know if any of you remember, but we used to vote in your designated precinct. At that time, we had 17 precincts, so we had to have a polling site in every precinct. That was difficult. Sometimes we'd only get one or two voters, and you still have to make sure it's fully operational capacity. So Now we have the voting, believe it's 2012 that we started voting convenience centers, so we consolidated those. And now you can vote at any voting convenience center. You don't have, there are some voters that like to go to their polling location, so they had a little bit of heartburn over that. But and I think people have now, our voters have now come to appreciate it, that I can vote anywhere. If I'm up here I live in White Rock, but I'm up here on town side doing any type of errand, I can just pop in and vote. You know, if I'm in White Rock and visiting a friend and I want to go vote, you can pop into that voting convenience center and vote. So I think, again, a lot of unfunded mandates. So just unfortunately, elections have not been funded well. But now I think people are seeing another huge thing is security. Security is one of the big things that we've needed more money for.
And when you say security, do you mean physical security or electronic security?
Both. Yeah, both. IT specialists, people that can help us make sure our information is safeguarded. And then obviously there's more checks and balances that we have. There's more equipment that we use for elections. And then we also have our mobile voting units. I'm sorry, not our mobile, our drive-through ballot drop boxes, where we have to take 2 poll workers along with ourselves and go and check our ballot boxes. It used to be every day. I'm glad there was some legislation change. Now it's every 3 days. That was a little cumbersome with time and personnel.
And then I'm going to ask 2 more questions, if it's okay. The other one is, it used to be we had to work the full day when we were poll workers, but now can we work a half a day?
Yes, so the only day we don't allow for that, and we actually, is election day. And actually on election, if we're going to have part-time shifts on election day, we actually have to notify the Secretary of State's office. They like the staff that starts the day to end the day in case there's any discrepancies and an issue occurs. Everybody can take recollection of the matter. We do allow for it now during early voting because to me it's important to allow people to be part of the process. And some people, they can't work a full day for whatever reason. So we started allowing part-time shifts. It gets a little hard for scheduling and for payroll, but we got it figured out, I think. Yeah.
And the last one is you were talking about initially contingencies, and the contingencies are huge. Mm-hmm. The stories that we heard when you talked to us for the voter guide. Something you just mentioned were figuring out the contingencies for the fire, but I think people would like to know how many contingencies you have to do just to get the vote.
We have a lot. We have contingency planning on every aspect of our job, every operation that we do, from the drive-through ballot box, end of night, in the morning. There's a lot of contingency planning that goes through it. Opening the polls, closing the polls, a lot of contingency planning. That's probably, I'd say, at least 34 or 40% of our planning.
And snowstorms and fires and
evacuations. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you've got plans for all of those.
We do, yeah. Yeah, and we're fortunate that we partner with other election officials throughout the state. That's why I love being part of the organizations. Well, it takes more time from what I have to do, but I love being part of those international and national organizations because you hear from your partners how, let's not recreate the wheel if we don't need to. If somebody has a great plan, or maybe I think I have a great plan, till you hear someone else's, and okay, well, maybe that's a better way to do it. Yeah. Always lessons learned.
I was wondering if, I've had people ask me, are absentee ballots when they come in to you in the mail counted directly?
No.
So you stock and store them up until election day and you open all the...
We do. It's a really great process. Yeah, so we receive them. We make sure there's a signature. We make sure the last 4 of the social is on the envelope, and we make sure that if that's okay, then we scan it in as received and verified. We save them in our vault. We're the only office in the county, and it's by law, that has a fireproof vault. So we store them in there. They're in a locked bag. There's always chain of custody on all of them, even when they come in from the mail. In my office, whoever receives the mail, and they stamp them in, because we have to stamp them in date and time. then there's a chain of custody that goes from that person to the processor who's going to start scanning them in as accepted. And then at that point, on election day, the law actually allows for the bigger communities, so your top 5, which is Bernalillo County, Dona Ana County, San Juan County, Santa Fe County, and Sandoval County. They can start and when I say processing, this is they bring in their bipartisan team of absentee poll workers, and they start because they also have to do that same verifying that we do. They have to do it. They have to, and they get hundreds of thousands. They're in 2020 we had almost 6,000. That was a lot, and that was obviously because of the pandemic, right? So they can start 2 weeks ahead of time, starting to just make sure those are correct and start. They have a whole system in place. It's probably similar to what Denver elections has. Denver elections is all mail, but with our county, because we're a smaller county, we can start that process 5 days before election day. We typically will start. It depends on how many we have. Right now, we don't have that many, so we'll probably start the day of the election. So that our absentee board will accept, again, through chain of custody. If we receive our 200, I think that right now we have 260 some. We receive those that morning. We'll go and through chain of custody, give them to them. This is really neat if anybody's ever interested. So they verify it. They verify the signature. They verify the social security number. They don't verify that's your signature because all of our signatures change, and New Mexico does not have a signature verification law. I know there is some in the works, and it takes a lot of money and takes a lot of data. A lot of data from your taxes to your DMV information. So collecting that data would be time consuming. But they make sure somebody's made their mark on the envelope, and then they go through. Once they've done all that, there's a lot. They count and count and count again. They're all in packages of 25. So yeah, So we have it to make sure it's all accounted for. And then once they've verified that, then they start taking. We have a machine that opens the envelopes, and then they'll take out the outer envelope, and then what's in which is what are the social security number and the address. The signature are, and they start separating. And there's an inner envelope, which is your privacy envelope. So they start taking all of those apart. They again count both to make sure they didn't miss anything, and then they go from that process. They go to getting the privacy envelope and taking out the ballot. So they don't have any idea whose ballot is whose at that point, right? Because they've already been separated. So it's just a privacy envelope, and which is the inner envelope. Not through our ICE machines. Our ICE machines is the image cast evolution. It goes through a high-speed scanner. We're one of the only ones, and my predecessor, Sharon Stover, is the one that made sure that we had one of those, because anytime we would do a bond election, it was always all mail. And we see higher voter turnout. That's why bond elections are typically through all mail. But she got the ICE, which is the Image Cast Central, the ICC, and it's a scanner, and it scans them pretty quickly. Yeah, and then there's an adjudication process in case somebody mismarked something, or it didn't read something, or if there's somebody overvoted, if they voted for 2 candidates in a 1-candidate race. So it's a really interesting process if anyone's ever interested. I could talk about it all day. Yes, a lot of checks and balances, a lot of recounting, and our presiding judge, Kim Thomas, is very meticulous. She's very, very fortunate. Yes.
So Becky had sent out an email to the league telling us that there were some openings available on the board of registration.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm with you that people are looking for the county as over to this with the ballots and all those things.
They cannot, because you cannot be an employee of the county. So, yes, unfortunately, we had a really great member who's now a poll worker, and he's an amazing poll worker, too. You might know him. But, so he was on the board of registration, but unfortunately, he wanted, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, he wanted to be a poll worker, and he's an amazing poll worker. So, but you cannot be an employee of the county. Yep.
So, quick question regarding arms outside and not being allowed outside. Tasers and spray, or those things that people, they fall in that same range?
No, they don't, and it's just firearms in this bill anyhow. Yeah, but So if somebody comes in and we just have to, yeah, thank you. Real quick, back to our Board of Registration, they are seeking, they need, when I say they, it's that board is appointed by our county council. It's our canvassing board and our Board of Registration. So our Board of Registration, our county chooses to allow our Board of Registration, who is typically our purge board, who purges the voters in the odd years that I mentioned earlier, to also serve as our canvassing board. So they'll canvass the election as well. And a lot of counties throughout the state, it's probably the majority of the counties throughout the state, the canvassing board is actually their county council or the commission. Right, we're the only ones with the county council, yeah, because we're county incorporated. But they certify the election. I like the way we do it here because I think there's a separation of powers, and the people that are getting elected to these positions are not canvassing the elections also. So that's my personal opinion. I think somebody else had a question.
So I have a number of things. One of the things I wanted to say is that in New Mexico, as opposed to, say, Michigan, if you vote and you die before the election, your vote still counts. I had to check that out. My vote, by the way,
it does. And sadly, we've had a few that's occurred. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't go back. They go back. No, they don't. So I think that's really good. I mean, and it does at any age. I'm not putting it up.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and I've tried for years and it doesn't seem to work, so I'm going to give it to you. At the high school, I would say an extremely large percentage of students have a smartphone. And it would be nice if someone, because I've been there to register, and like 4 kids come, and it's really quite a waste of my time. But they could take out their phones, get on nmvote.org, and they could fill in their information, particularly things, and you could put their driver's license in instead of your social security, because of course they have no idea what that is.
Yes.
And I realize that there are students who are not documented Americans, but no one would know. That's why I'm saying that they don't. You could be honest, like no one knows.
Sure.
But I think it would really be a good thing to get our kids to vote, and to register to vote, to be a part of what it is that they're complaining about. And I understand that. But prior to that, I would like to have seen a history teacher or an English teacher, whomever, somebody, to really talk about where each party, stands and what happens if like if you're an independent or green or some other, one of that list of 50 people, that you don't get to participate in a primary, which oftentimes decides the election, or like candidate.
Yes.
Or like our first district judge thing that'll be it.
Yeah.
So,
their election.
They understand that, not through their own fault, but I'm just saying it's a lot. I think it's complicated.
It is.
It's really a thing that maybe someone, it's not you, Michael, to then talk about it during their tenure to get more kids. And when I say to kids, well, I don't know. I said, well, that's fine because I'm going to go in the cell phones.
That's very, very true. Yeah.
And so I don't know how to do that, but I think that would be really something easy to do.
Yeah.
Even if they go to the computer lab and use the computer rather than.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, so Los Alamos doesn't just, I think some places just purge. And, I mean, you hear about Georgia, you hear about
other states.
So when we do the purge, is it just one based on the fact that these absentee ballot people hadn't done whatever?
Yes.
Do we just take them off the absentee ballot, or do we purge the voters?
So we vote them from the voting rolls. There is communication. So the Secretary of State's office sends off a card to these voters they're flagged. So if you don't participate in an election, if you don't vote, if you don't update your voter registration, you're going to get made part of this list. If we receive an undeliverable mail, because we mail out certain things, I'm sure you guys saw some mail come from me the other day. So we'll start processing these cards or this information saying undeliverable. It starts adding up. It happens. It's almost about a 2-year period, and has at least through one general election. If somebody's not voting, this happened last year. So what actually is happening this year? The Secretary of State's office is going to send out this card to these voters saying, "Hey, Joe voter, you are flagged as inactive. If you're no longer here, or if you want to continue to be on the voter rolls, please send this card back." So, but a lot of times we get that card undeliverable as well. So they've actually moved. They just didn't. They never removed themselves from the voter rolls. Or let's say we're part of ERIC. It's a process. I'm sorry, it's a system. A lot of states are part of it. You have to pay to be part of it. It's a little pricey, but anybody that's part of ERIC, they get notification that Mr. Joe Voter is now registered in Arizona, or he's in Colorado. So we get notice. The Secretary of State's office from each of these states are supposed to send us information when Joe Voter registers there, or even sometimes even if they just simply do a motor vehicle transaction, then that flags us and we contact the voter. You were flagged to now been registering a vehicle in Colorado. Are you still do you still want to be a registered voter of New Mexico? Yeah. So there's a lot of checks and balances. And again, we want clean rolls. We don't want these rolls to be inflated with people that are no longer here. Especially if they're voting in Texas or they're voting somewhere else, but they're still a registered voter here, that can be troublesome. The optics of it just don't look good. So we try to clean our rolls the best we can. Or the way they mentioned dead people voting. So that's why not every county does this, but we're small enough that we can. We go through the obituaries and we remove anybody that we obviously see in the obituary.
So, this is an issue for me
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago. So my daughter was in New York in school and got on the voter registration here, and then she graduated and then registered in New York, and I had a hard time figuring out how to get her off here.
Oh.
She wasn't voting twice.
No. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what happens, right? A lot of students, they go to college or they'll go, yes. Yeah. And some of them are truly because yes, while I'm registered in wherever, California, wherever, I want to be a registered voter of New Mexico. So we never remove them that way. The only way we can remove a voter is through that purge process, or through the voter signing something. We need their signature. We need to receive. So we can't, if you tell us, oh, my daughter or my neighbor, they haven't lived here for years, we cannot remove them without their signature and some identifying information, because we don't want to disenfranchise a voter. Yeah. Because your neighbor who maybe has not lived here for 2 years, maybe they're on assignment somewhere. They plan to come back, and maybe they are already voting, and you just don't know it. They're voting here through absentee mail. Yes, Ed.
What legislative changes are you hoping for in future session?
This may not be a popular answer, but I'm going to say it anyways. I would love to see all mail voting. If you get a higher turnout. You get a higher voter turnout. I would like us to mirror Colorado. So everybody gets a ballot. Sometimes you get 2, but you can only vote 1. Yeah, because you'll get a Republican, or it just depends how you're registered, right? So if you'll get a Republican or whatever major party there are, but you can only return 1. I know people sometimes have some complaints about that. I would like to see. So I like open primaries. I like open primaries. We are so close. We are in the sense that in order to participate, like my daughter, for instance, she's a declined to say. She's not affiliated with a party. If she would like to go vote during the primary, she can go up until election day, but she'll have to register of whatever party she wants a ballot for. So if we want to continue to have closed primaries, I think, and I'm not going to be the most popular person in the room, but the party should pay for the election then, not the state. Because not everybody's represented during that election. My daughter, who's paying taxes and paying for elections, she's not represented at that. So that's, again, just personal. I know that's not the popular answer, but.
What percentage of registered voters in the county are not affiliated with a party?
I want to say, I don't know the exact number, but I want to say it's about 30%. It's high. It's on the incline throughout the nation. People are not, they don't want to be associated with the party. Yeah. It's a, oh, yes. Every legislature, there's probably at least, I don't know, 5 bills at least that start off. We track them. They don't end up going anywhere. They sometimes don't even get a committee assignment. So, yeah. And it's because it's our legislators that don't want open primaries are they're heading these committees, and they have their own reasons. You know, I no disrespect to them at all. They have their own reasoning for that.
So how would that work if, and you said the parties should pay for the
Primaries.
For the primary, but it can still go through the county clerk's office, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's similar right now. There's some municipalities. Yeah, there's some municipalities throughout the state that they want to be in control, because right now, the majority of the state, the municipal elections, and I'll touch base on that, something else in relation to that. The municipal elections happen during the regular local election. That's when they consolidate all these small elections to happen. That way there wasn't water trust board here, school board here. There wasn't all these different elections. Nobody knew. So now they know every general election, there's a consolidated election, and we're all going to, participate in that if you'd like to. So a lot of the municipalities have now, that's when they have the regular local election. That's when they have their election. There's some smaller ones that Rio Arriba is one. I think Santa Fe is another. They don't want to be part of the election during the regular local election. So they have their own election. I believe it's in March. And they pay for it. They pay $35,000, where their citizens could save $35,000 if they just joined the regular local election act. But they don't want to, so they pay for it. So it'd be similar to that. Yep.
I'm sort of confused on this proposed primary. So, and I haven't seen a ballot yet, but we have county council.
We do.
We have school boards. So does that mean someone who is not affiliated with the party can't vote in the local?
So on this ballot, there's no school board. School board happens with our regular local election. Yeah, so next general, our county council. Correct.
So
Yep.
if you're not affiliated with the party, you don't get to vote.
Correct, and that's the argument I think that Carol Ann was just mentioning. Some elections are occurring right now. The DA right now that's happening. They're not going to the gen. They're just that election is decided now. A lot of Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, their elections are taking place now.
It's only primary, so to decide who's going to vote.
Yeah.
Anybody can vote in the general election. Everybody can vote, whether you're affiliated or
But that election for DA will already have occurred. So it doesn't, like the people that are participating in the general, they didn't get to decide that election. Yeah.
like Santa Fe County Clerk.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great point to make. The Santa Fe County Clerk right now, the only two candidates are both Democrats, so their election will take place now in June.
And there's not a Republican running against them or an independent of what whomever. So that's I just wondered what was the issue against mail-in ballot, all mail-in ballot?
I'm not exactly sure what I think, excuse me, sorry. I think again, I think, I'm not exactly sure. I couldn't answer that.
Because both Republican states, red states and blue states.
I think, honestly, their contributors are definitely against it. So I think the contributors to certain campaigns and to certain legislators. So I think, of course, they bend an ear and they have to listen to their constituents and people that,
I think it's a matter of distrust.
Probably. I think there's...
People who don't approve of absentee ballots certainly wouldn't approve of it.
And you'll notice that absentee voting is more party driven by one party than others. Yeah.
Utah, and I said that because Utah is a pretty red state,
Mm-hmm.
and Washington.
Yeah, Washington. Yeah.
I think that's why I particularly said that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just blue states.
No. Yeah, there are some that are all middle states that are red states. Yeah.
It's much cheaper to have them.
It is. And it is more work for us, obviously. but you get a higher voter percentage, and that's what we want. Speaking real quick about, so I wanted to touch base on ranked choice of voting. That was something that I was really trying to advocate for, really trying to do. Unfortunately, in our state, we cannot do it because our county council runs during a partisan election. So if they were to go on to a regular local election, then we could do ranked choice voting. But because they're part of a partisan election, you can't have ranked choice voting for a partisan election. Yeah. So the regular local election, for those that don't know, it is not partisan. It is not. So that's why you will not see them categorized by party. Yeah. But I tried. Is there another question? I saw somebody's hand up. I'm not too sure. Well, I do want to thank you guys. I have a special place in my heart for the League of Women Voters. In 2016, my very first forum, I'm not a public speaker. I'm definitely not a politician. I worked in the office since 2005. My predecessor put a bug in my ear. Why don't you run for clerk? You've worked here for almost 10 years. No, I don't think that's for me. I'm not a politician by any means. I went home and my kids are like, Mom, you have to do it. You say if you believe in yourself, if you believe in something, you have to do it. It's like, oh gosh, okay, that's hard. So the next day, close to the end of the day, I decided I went ahead and filled out my candidacy papers and filed for candidacy. But my very first forum, and many of you were there, I was very emotional. It was my son's last football game in middle school. I was missing that, and I'm not a great public speaker. I'm very shy. I get nervous. I'm very shy, and you guys were there. You welcomed me. I got very, very emotional during the night. There was some snickers from certain people in the audience that I felt a little, I don't want to say attacked. That to me, that's a big word, but felt. I don't want to use the word afraid. I don't want to say, I didn't feel comfortable, and I'm very passionate, as you guys know, about what I do, and I just wanted to really relay that. But you guys were there, you wrapped your arms around me, and thank you. I have found strength in my voice. I have found, I didn't think I'd ever be this person, so thank you.
So I want to say that Naomi and I created the
Thank you, and thank you guys for the opportunity, because I wouldn't be the woman that I am today without. I have confidence in myself. I have strength in my voice, and I know I should be heard. I shouldn't be silenced. And thank you all for that.